Good morning, everyone. I'd first like to begin by acknowledging the traditional owners of the land on which we meet today and pay my respects to elders past, present, and emerging. It's a pleasure to welcome all of you today in today's media training workshop conducted by the Indian Sun with support from the Victorian government. I know all of you represent different organizations that work in the mental health space, providing psychological safety workshops, mental first aid training, counseling, and so on, which is really vital in today's world. And also doing important work is only half the story. Communicating that work effectively, reaching the right audience, and shaping the public conversation around mental health and well being, that's where media engagement becomes not just useful, but essential. Today's workshop is designed to offer you practical tools how to structure your messaging, write a compelling media release, engage journalists, and build a confident public voice. We'll show you how storytelling can be a powerful tool in your advocacy and how the media can help further your mission of creating safer, healthier workplaces and communities. Whether you're a counselor, trainer, or part of the leadership team, these communication skills will help you connect with the broader public, policymakers, and potential collaborators, all of whom are critical to creating systemic change in how mental health is understood and supported. I want to thank all of you for your commitment to community well-being and for taking this proactive step to ensure your impact reaches even further. Let's make this session interactive, insightful, and most of all useful to your goals. But I would first like all of you to briefly introduce yourselves before we get started. We'll probably start with Vinay.
Hi everyone. Everyone knows me here with wearing different hats. I have a small consultancy and counseling service. I'm currently in Point Cook at the moment. I do training for businesses around mental health and also for the community. That's me.
Yeah, Rahul next. Thank you.
Hi everyone. I've worked as a business analyst for 3 years, and I'm also a sports coach for children, which prompted me to start my venture January this year. So it's to do with holistic development for children, and I'm slowly transitioning into the mental health space and development for children from a tech background. I thought this would be a great workshop to learn about. Media and in general PR and marketing and those sort of things. So yeah, really excited to be here today.
And what is the organization that you said you're representing?
Uh, s- so Soulful Learning, which is my
Okay.
own venture that I'm sort of working on right now. I'm slowly transitioning into part-time work in my tech job and transitioning into starting something of my own. So yeah, Soulful Learning is what I'm working on right now.
Kenneth?
Hi. I have my own counseling practice, and that's called as Redefined Counseling. I sort of work from Point Cook. I also work in a couple of other organizations in the family violence space. I work with men, women, and children, and also run something called as Men's Behavior Change Group in an organization called as Relationships Australia, and one more organization called as Let's Hope Community Health. So that's a quick intro about me. Yeah, it's a what's the
Thank you.
word?
Yeah.
Sometimes satisfying and sometimes challenging work.
Gurvinder?
I, like Prince, also wear many hats. And so I work for Nima National as a community connections lead. So that's a lived experience role. And I support basically community mental health initiatives. So a lot of mental health prevention work with all ages, essentially. But the service is 26 and over. And it's part of the Vital C Mental Health and Wellbeing Local. And I also have a private practice, which is Break the Cycle Counseling. And I'm a qualified counselor and working on getting a qualification on working with families. So just about to finish my grad dip in family counseling. And yeah, I think I've been working in the sector for 7 years. I've worked previously in family space and in one-on-one work as well. So yeah, have a passion to work with multicultural communities and really bring that change and make services more accessible. At the same time, I'm trying to establish a private practice and realizing it's much, much harder than I thought it would. I think everyone will relate to that.
Thank you.
That's me.
Wonderful. Yeah. Welcome, Veena. Please tell us a bit about yourself.
Hi, everyone. Yeah, there seem to be one, two, three, and I'm the fourth one, counselors here. So, and in the field of family violence, yes, I'm in the Southeast. Multicultural Women's Alliance Against Family Violence.
Let's start to them without wasting much time. The workshop goals. This is very straightforward. I've listed the 4 things there. One is to strengthen multicultural engagement and representation, improve the quality and reach of your communications, your organizations, the work that you do, and, equip yourself, your staff, or your volunteer with media skills. And the fourth one is in opening pathways into media careers. And this, as I always tell others, is of course not for you. All of you are doing very well in your field, but I think this workshop should give you added skills, into your personal toolkit. Why media matters in multicultural Victoria? As we all know, it is a tool for inclusion and visibility. Multicultural voices are often underrepresented, and media helps shape narratives, challenge stereotypes, and tell authentic stories. Why stories matter? Uh, Stories matter because they build belongingness, challenge stereotypes, inspire action and engagement, raise awareness of important issues, showcase impact, and create change. As we go along, I will elaborate on these points. And if any one of you have any questions along the way, please feel free to ask me. Okay? Why communication is every organization's superpower? I've listed those points below. It helps build public relations, in the sense that you liaise with journalists and all media platforms to get coverage for the work that you do, in terms of press releases, giving interviews. You also work on reputation management by proactively addressing public concerns and correcting misinformation. When I say correcting misinformation, sometimes your organization or you could have been quoted wrongly. So that's where you step in and issue a statement saying that the information is wrong or misquoted. Then you also use media for events and sponsorships to enhance brand image. Again, communication is a tool for visibility and influence. So, you relay your message to a wider audience, you drive awareness on issues that you are working on that is of importance to the work that you're doing and the information that you are disseminating. And it also helps you position your organization or yourself as a thought leader or an expert voice. Okay, so and the fourth point again is a repeat, I suppose. It's reputation management, which means good media relationship allows for proactive storytelling and helps shape narratives during times of scrutiny or crisis. So how do we identify a story? Um, because you're all working in different spaces and different organizations, although similar in goals, but I'm sure you will find 101 stories within your organization amongst the people that you work with. I have listed a few things here which was actually meant for multicultural communities because they celebrate festivals, art, form, food, and tradition, and they highlight, sort of community organization strengths and all of that. But in your space, there could be a lot of individual success stories that inspire, and especially when you're working in the mental health space, I'm sure there'll be so many journeys that can be documented, that can be shared, and that can help people to sort of transform themselves and take lessons from that journey. Sorry, yeah. And how a story can build belongingness. I put this example here, which might be relevant to what you do, but what you do, uh, in the sense that when I was talking about writing stories and identifying stories, every story has different form of messaging, and this is just one example of how a story can build belonging. This is a story which I have taken off the net, um, uh, and if you have a look at it, and I'm sure when you get the slide, you can have an even proper look. But this is just about what when Aisha's hijab story went viral. So, what happened was a young Muslim woman shared a TikTok post about how her journey wearing the hijab at work sparked change. She talked about initial fears, her co workers' support, and a touching moment when her boss adjusted meeting times for her prayers. So, the impact of it was that the video got 500K plus views, and with comments saying stuff like, "This is Australia I love, I feel less alone." Local media picked up the story, leading to a workplace launching diversity training. So, these are the kind of stories that are very impactful, and I'm sure you'll find relevant materials from the work that you do to initiate changes like this. Finding your stories can be found in these three things mainly: people, purpose, and impact. So I have just listed an example. When I say people, the example that I gave was of migrant mothers sharing recipes. The focus here is the migrant mothers. And when I say the purpose of a story, it's preserving traditions and combating isolation. That's the purpose. And when I say impact, it's about the many lives touched. So 200 plus women connected through cooking classes. Okay, so now that I've spoken on people, purpose, and impact, I'll stop share the screen for a minute and find a story idea from any of those three categories: people, purpose, or impact. Let's not waste one time, but if anything that you can find offhand, we will not break into group as I mentioned in this slide, just individually. One or two of you can just give me an example from this work that you do.
Rahul, I think you should go.
Yeah.
Talk about the impact that you're having on young children, the work that you're doing.
Yep. So I think one of the goals I have is to share my own personal story. I was a national level player when I was a child, and what sort of an impact sports had on me, and the things that I learned in my childhood, the environment that I was in. So I want to build a personal brand around it and help other people recognize how 5 to 15-year olds can actually spend their time a little more productively. It sort of can be in a fun manner. That's what I'm trying to achieve. You can find your purpose very early on in your life through a fun play based learning way, and that's what I'm trying to tell the parents in Melbourne, and help them achieve that for their children. And I think the journey of a parent um, is very emotional, and it sort of reflects how their own personal journey as a parent evolves as well along with the child. So that's the story I'm trying to build. What my relationship with my parents was, what helped me, what could have been better, and trying to make the good things better and the bad things, less impactful, and trying to give a good start to children is what I'm trying to do.
Fantastic. I mean, your story itself has all the elements: purpose, impact, people. people are the children. Purpose is, the goodwill faith that you are trying to share and spread and impact. Of course, how many children will be sort of, or readers, parents, everyone will be impacted by what you have to say. Thank you so much. That was wonderful, and you got it all at once. And anyone else wants to share before we move on?
Mine is
Ah,
more related to the community because that's been the role for a while. So I think my role is very much around social isolation and what people are experiencing in the community around social isolation. So I was running art-based workshops in Mill Park Library. It was offered free of cost, and it was on a random Wednesday evening. So we weren't actually expecting that many people. But over time, I think because I had the luxury from my organization to support that. So we ran it for 6 months and we developed this 10 group of consistent women, all from different parts of life, but everyone there. And so there was someone who was from a migrant background who had come from Singapore. And so when we did our end of year reflections, this person really had an emotional breakdown because they were like, this is my place of belonging. This one small group has had that much of an impact. And then everyone kind of took turns. And so what we realized was everyone was going through isolation and it was impacting their mental health. But the group had become that space that they look forward to meeting every week. And so it hit the mark with, like, the purpose, the people, and the story is so wholesome because, yeah, I mean, those women are still continue doing, even though we have now stepped away, like the organization has stepped away, but the group is ongoing and they're holding the space for each other and connecting. But yeah, I remember, like, when I was attending the last one with them, they were like, had you not drawn out those conversations out of us, because I used to do like some cards before and just really hold this space, they were like, I don't think we would have developed this kind of a connection with one another. So yeah, I think that was a really good
yeah.
experience for me as well.
Yeah, and those are such beautiful stories to tell, so now I hope you get some, I'm sure you're all good writers in itself, but if you just know the hook and, the angle of the story, there's so many wonderful stories to share that people can learn and benefit from, isn't it? Fantastic. Anyone else? Yes, Veena, you have to unmute. Yeah,
Yeah.
please go on. Yeah.
So,
Hmm.
yes, so my purpose as such, or my childhood dream, as we say, has been to reach out to millions of people around the world and make a positive impact on their lives. So I'm on my way. I'm trying to find my way. I'm trying to, like, what is the best way for me to be able to do that? And some of the things that I do is through my poems. I write poems. And some of the organizations like Safe and Equal, Respect Victoria and all, they've used my poems for advocacy in Zonta and all, Indian Care. And so that is one of the, other than that, I'm part of the Multicultural Women's Alliance Against Family Violence. And my self-coined motto in life is the joy of living through the joy of loving. And that is the message I would like to spread around the world. And yeah, I really liked what Rahul has mentioned earlier about the parents. And I can relate to that because I'm a parent. I have a 14-year-old. And so that was, yeah.
Fantastic.
Of course, we know that is the new pandemic.
Yeah, and really great. We have so many wonderful story ideas which we can hone and work on. Well, let's move on to the next, unless anyone else has a point to add. Are we good to go to the next one? So we've done the group exercise. And now we go to the next, which is I've just given a formula here on, the stories in 6 simple steps, which is, by the end of this, this 10th slide, I'm sure you all have a fair idea. So your story is about, when you write, it's about the time when, the moment experience that you want to share. You pick up a specific scene or a theme, as Rahul talked about, the childhood, what happened before that, the turning point. So these are the elements that you can have in your stories. What you felt, you thought, your emotional responses were, and in the end, what you learned. And today, this matters because this story is relevant to the times. It has an important message. So when you go through the slides, when I give you, you'll sort of be familiar as you read, um, and practice those steps. The storytelling guide, some tips and steps is, you focus on one moment, keep it clear and impactful. You use real emotions, because I feel that is where it becomes even more impactful. When someone felt joy, hope, fear, pride, all of that. This is what moves people. Use simple words, keep it short, avoid jargon, and keep your voice. When I say keep your voice, means keep it authentic. Uh, what are emotions in storytelling, and why does it matter? Um, and this is, I'm sure, a feeling or an emotion that everyone has gone through when you've read something and reacted to it angrily, shared it because you felt enraged, or when you have donated to something because that story moved you. So that is the power of emotions in a story. Now, why stories matter to the community? Again, very straightforward, simple explanations here. It brings people together. We celebrate identity and culture through our stories. It highlights challenges, inspires action, builds pride, belongingness. It gives a voice to those unheard. It strengthens community bonds, and the list can go on. So now that, for all of you, I think what is important is to know the difference in these different media formats. So we have something called a news story, we have something called a feature story, we have a newsletter, we have social media post, and we have audio podcast segments, right? News story, as all of you would know, are very straightforward reporting of accidents, deaths, appointments, fundings, etc. Feature stories are longish. They are fit for profiles, rich emotions, human interest stories, and all these fit into the kind of workspaces that you're all doing now, because you'll have lots of journeys of people to profile and share. And newsletters, I'm sure Veena would be aware of what that is, because in your organization, in Care, you always come out with a newsletter. So it's like a mini capsule. For organizations, I think it's very important to send those newsletters to the groups and to patrons, because it tells you consistently about the things that you're doing, and it helps the group also stay connected, isn't it, Veena? If you wanted to add anything about newsletters, because you do that a lot.
Yeah, the Multicultural Alliance, it does have regular newsletters, and I don't think I can add anything, any expert opinion like you can.
That's all
I
right.
won't take the time.
Yeah, and social media posts, I'll talk in details. I have that in the slides following this. It's of course, all our social media outlets such as Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, TikTok. I'm not so sure so much, but yes, and YouTube's. These are again have become such an important part of the media story and the evolution of the media today. Podcast audio section, of course, the use is mainly in community radios, podcast stories, television also. All right. The next one is news story examples. And just because since I've talked about the different formats, I'll just to add more familiarity to what I'm saying. News stories. When I say news stories, I just thought I'd give you an examples, and I've chosen some multicultural story because that's the space I work in. But anyway, so for instance, a leadership change in an organization that can be an example of a news story. Melbourne celebrating Diwali with record turnout. That is again news story. Community organization wins 50,000 grants for language. These are news stories. And feature stories examples are, of course, the purpose, as I mentioned, is to explore, engage, and connect emotionally. So, for example, uh, from curry to connection, how one Melbourne kitchen is uniting cultures. This is a feature story because it focuses on human interest and in-depth storytelling. Young choreographer revives Punjabi folk in Australia. Again, this is has will have rich details, character-driven cultural lens, and spices, struggles, and success. The journey of a migrant-owned grocery store. So this again will dive into the founder's journey, challenges, and community role. Press release. I think for all of you, this will be of interest because a press release is a short formal announcement written by your organization. It is sent to journalists and media to share news or events. And I'll just give you some tips on how to work on press releases. The idea is to, sort of inform the media about the work that you're doing, or about the changes in your organization or any milestones that you have achieved. Keep it short and simple. Have a list of all the media channels from newspapers to radios to every outlet, and always attach your organization logo and add your contact details so they can follow up with you on the news. And I think it's always good to send uh, press releases every time to the media, so they are you keep them in the loop, they are in the loop, you have them in the database. So in that way, they are in your memory, and your news is highlighted. The work that you're doing is visible, and you get the publicity that you deserve. Types of story your organization can tell: impact stories, personal profiles, event highlights, milestones and achievements, responding to current issues. I'm sure most of these fit in your bill. And the resources you need, it's not much. You need people. You can have volunteers. You can do it yourself. You just, and then good, and you can play dual role of a writer and a photographer. I think the images, which I'll talk about, is very important. You just need a recording device, and budget, I'm sure it's not much because it's going to come from yourself and your volunteers. And channels is, of course, the media list. That is where you will pitch your stories. A step-by-step guide to story writing is identifying the focus. Are you the person, moment, or the event, or are you focusing on organization's work? You know your why, as in why is this story important? Why should the community or wider public care? And ask whether it inspires, celebrate change, or highlight a need, or does it call for action? So keeping these three things in mind will help you structure your story. Story structure. So you write a sharp headline, of course, but then when I say that, I don't mean to say that everyone has to be like really creative, but then keeping the hook, the important part, or is very important. So you have an introduction, you have a body, and then you have the conclusion. And in between, of course, a few paragraphs where just added, giving you some examples on how to add transitions. In addition, therefore, meanwhile, as if you, depending on the length of the story you want, but ideally, I think for feature stories, it's about 600, 700 words, not more than that. And also keeping today people's attention span. If you send them very long stories, nobody's going to read. And the right structure, and again, some examples there. For a community story, you start with the person or moment, explain the context, show the impact, end with a reflection or hope. And if it's an organization story, so instance, Vinay wants to write about Strident, the work that he's doing in the organization that he's founded. And if you completed 5 years, 10 years, 4 years, any kind of achievement in your journey as an entrepreneur in that space, you talk about, you begin with a mission or recent success, You include people's voices, staff, volunteer service users. You explain the value, what problem does the organization solve, future vision. And then, of course, when you write your feature, when you write your story, you always use quotes. And quotes means voices of different people that reveals emotions, insight, or a certain perspective. And that supports your main message and body of your story. And always credit the speaker, use the exact words to avoid misrepresentation. I always stress on this again, simple language, short paragraphs, and of course, edit, double check small details, including names, dates, numbers, attributions. Some example headlines. I just thought I'll throw this in so that you have an idea. I'm not saying all of you are going to become kids sitting editors somewhere, but and this is very also is important because when you send press releases, sometimes you just send bland headlines that does not catch the attention of the person sitting at the news desk. So when you say, for instance, seniors sing in food Korea, Diwali is celebrated in area, these are very flat, boring, stale headlines. But if you have to give it a bit of emotion, a bit of flair, you say things like, choir gives a voice to seniors in Footscray, neighbors unite through Diwali lights festival. Makes a difference, isn't it? And the power of images in storytelling, I think it's very important for us to always also, along with our press releases, to embed images, send images. Images have the power to grab attention. They also build trust, lend authenticity to the story. And what makes a good image is, of course, clear, high quality, and something that is relevant to the story and shows actions or emotions. And always attributes also of picture, use captions, respect privacy and consent, and supply more than one or two, three, one or two images. And it's always good to showcase a variety. It also helps in the layout of the page. Now, building relationships with the media. So when a lot of the time you're doing a lot of work, but then how do you pitch your stories to mainstream and cultural media? What this means is telling this editor why your story matters. So tailor your pitch well. Have a nice headline, a striking headline, and be very timely and relevant. I think in today's fast-paced world where news come first on social media, and by the time you open your television and open the newspapers, you've already had that piece of information on social media. So I think to be very timely is important. That means if you've had an event and you send a press release 1 week later, it becomes stale. Instead, if you send it just after you've had your event or even one prior to the event, then the chances for it getting published and also the relevance is very high. And keep it short. Engaging through social media. Whenever I talk to my elders, of course, they don't respond to social media very kindly. But I think social media, when put to right use, is very, very impactful. As we all know, today it is one of the most powerful tools to share stories, raise awareness, and reach both the public and journalists. When I say they reach the journalists, what I mean to say is sometimes when your organization puts stuff on Facebook, if a journalist is scrolling and finds something of importance or of relevance or interesting, then they'll always reach out to you. So your chances of getting published, your chances of your work being noticed is high. And these platforms are, of course, Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, YouTube, Twitter. And be consistent, post regularly, use photos and videos. And I think using hashtags is very important. I was telling someone the other day that sometimes when we search for stuff like Diwali in Melbourne or say, for example, mental work in the multicultural Australia, if you have those hashtags, when you search, then your post will definitely appear. And so that is very important, so that people do not miss out on your feed as well. And respond, like, share to build goodwill. And I think that's important because that's how you interact also and get traction for the work that you do. And why social media? That's because today there's 3 times more engagement on social media. We connect directly with audience. News travels faster and is wider. It's more visible, shareable, and feedback is in real time. And 60% people prefer video over text. I think when I say video, it doesn't mean you put up 1 hour, 30 minutes, or very long videos. Just a 30-second video about your project can reach people faster than a newsletter, and it can be also more engaging. Social media tips. Now, hook in the first 3 seconds. If you're putting out a video, make the first 3 seconds really strong, really alluring, so that people engage with it. Use strong visuals, use trending sounds and hashtags, very bold captions, for instance, new program alert, stuff like that, so that people know what is happening. And you can always insert, if you have an event or a donation drive, you can insert those links. And then people can share it, your friends can share it, and then that's how the word spreads. That's how you get more attraction. YouTube clips, I thought it's just important to mention this because I think YouTube is one of those outlets where your work stays forever and viewership gets higher with time. And it's very interesting because in YouTube, there's no time limit, of course, and it's one of my favorite mediums. So I've just listed a bit of do's and don'ts: horizontal, natural light, subtitles, and don'ts: shaky footage, background noise. These are things that you keep in mind while working on YouTube clips or videos. And ethical and legal consideration. I think when we are writing stories, when we are taking photos, it is always important that you get informed consent and you get permission before sharing someone's story, photo, or video. You credit the source of your story, of your photos, of your quotes, and you keep in mind a respectful representation, which is avoiding stereotypes, harmful generalizations, cultural appropriation. You keep in mind the accuracy of your facts, which means you don't exaggerate, mislead, misquote. If supposing, and you have published a story, for instance, and you quoted a wrong number and somebody's pointed it out to you, what you do is you correct it quickly and you issue a disclaimer saying that there's an inadvertent error and it has been corrected, and where necessary, of course. And respect for privacy, again, don't publish personal details, example, health info, addresses, telephone numbers, all of that without consent. I wanted to touch upon this because in one of my last workshops, somebody asked me about the use of AI and ChatGPT in storytelling. Personally, I feel I'm not a big fan of ChatGPT. I mean, I do use it as a tool, and I tell this to everyone that you have to use it responsibility because the why of it, I'll come to it next. But ChatGPT actually saves time, helps you draft quickly, helps with proofreading. It can translate or simplify text. And if I read, say, a science journal article which I don't understand, I sometimes load it in ChatGPT and ask it to simplify for me, and that it's really good. Or break up the details for me, or pick up the points which I want to know more. So in that sense, it's really helpful, and you can use it to scale your work, but not replace your judgment or ethics. For instance, you've done something, edit proof, or shorten length. All those things can be done in with ChatGPT and AI. But in terms of writing, I think these are the facts. AI can't interview people. It can't sit in a room. It can't feel the silence. It can't read emotion. I mean, your job is not to write perfect English, it's to communicate voices, especially from those unheard. And when you're talking the mental space, you can't ask ChatGPT to write a story on the mental health experiences or journey of someone. And your strength is connection, not syntax. Syntax is where AI, ChatGPT is very strong at. Storytelling is about listening. AI doesn't listen, it predicts. So use AI to help you, but let people be your source. You are the one asking the questions. You are the one sensing the emotions. So AI is your friend in the newsroom, but not your replacement. When I say newsroom, I just don't mean in my journalistic sphere, but it means in your work as well. So I think with that, I come to the end of my uh, presentation. If welcome questions from all of you, and yes, let me get some questions from any one of you.
Indra, you said a lot about hooks when we were talking about social media.
Yes.
Can you just elaborate, like what does that mean and what does that
Yeah.
look like in the mental health space, I suppose?
Okay. I'll just tell you.
Because we can't do the dances, like
I know.
I
So,
really can't do the dances.
Maybe you can't, Gurvinder. I can.
yeah.
No, I can't. I really can't. I'm too self-critical to
Yeah.
put myself in that thing.
Okay. So when I say hook, I mean, uh, you sort of, how do you putting up a post on social media and you have an important message to say and you want people to engage with your post, right? So when I say hook, you mean the first 3 seconds, the first 3 lines of that video. Like, for example, you show the person, I'm just giving an example. Supposing you're in the working in the mental health space, you want to uh, 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 detail the journey of one of your members or client, or somebody who's transformed herself and come out really successful in that journey. You can probably say Rena's transformation in 30 days. Read about Rena's transformation in 30 days. That is a hook in itself, right? And then you have the link below the story, whatever. So, and the people are saying, what is Rena's transformation? What is this? The idea is to entice people into reading what you have.
You'll see a lot of those things in the YouTube, this
Yeah.
YouTube thumbnails, right?
Yeah.
The world is over.
Yeah. The world is over. Yeah, exactly.
So that's so yeah, and then he's destroyed, she's destroyed, or whatever. So those are all the negative baits.
But this is how the world works, and we, despite all our intelligence, still get hooked to it. We still click on it. That's the trick. Yes.
I think
Yeah.
with mental health, it's not a fancy thing
Yeah.
as well.
Exactly.
So it's
Yeah.
really hard to get people. And also, like, some of the stuff that we talk about is so grim at times, or like, like trauma. You can't really like sparkle
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
trauma.
Yeah.
But then I see motivational speakers, and I completely hear you. And they're just so good. They have zero counseling background, and they just are so good at like grasping that attention. And I think maybe I need to go to their pages and just see what hooks they're using.
Yeah.
I think it's that mental, like once you start paying attention to, oh, what is hooking me in, maybe we will be able to
Yeah.
like understand the audience better as well.
You can search what are clickbaits.
Yeah.
Give some examples of clickbaits in chat GPT, and that gives you thousands.
Yeah, I know. Clickbait. Yeah. We have
Like
clickbait
clickbait for
headlines.
mental health.
Clickbait for mental health.
Yes, yeah, but you can't do that for mental health. And when you say clickbait headlines, it works for
It's negative.
sensationalism. Yeah, sensationalist journalism.
I just wanted to add one thing. I recently wrote a LinkedIn post, and the hook was that I did something after 18 years that triggered a conversation with my inner child that I didn't know I needed. So I think that's like a good way to write.
Yeah.
hooks for like mental health
Yeah,
related stuff.
yeah,
Uh,
true.
and I think it's a balance of not making it too clickbaity while
Yeah,
also being a bit authentic. I think
yeah.
adding facts and numbers, for example, research that an average person wouldn't know in terms of mental health.
Mm.
Did you know that X% of people said this in a survey? I think that's like a good hook for mental health posts.
Yeah. Thank you very much for your participation. Thank you very much, and let's stay in touch. Let's work on stories together.
Thank you very much. Bye.